Hey guys, welcome back. So I have sat down numerous of times here to try to start the story of my son. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the video that I will link below. It's called My Anxiety Story, and you will know what I'm talking about. So anyways, this is very hard. At first I planned to write down a list of what I was going to talk about, in what part I was going to talk about what, and honestly when I sit down nothing comes out. To make things worse, you know, recently I got robbed. A storage unit that I had all my son's things in got robbed, got stolen. So everything is gone. I don't have one picture of him. I can't even talk about it right now because I will just burst into tears. I did call the cops. They took DNA swabbings of everything, and I'm just gonna have faith in God that He will return my things, because like for a while I was like, I need to go get those things so that I can show you guys, and you know, just show you guys in my videos that I plan on doing, like his baby bracelet, everything's gone except one stuffed animal, and it's horrible. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that because that's a whole other story on itself. But anyway, I really appreciate all the comments and like the heartwarming comments that you guys left on my anxiety video. I seriously like sat there and cried and like read all the comments, and you guys are just amazing. I really thank you guys, and I'm glad that you guys want to hear my story because I do have a pretty long story to say. I've always wanted to write a book about it. My cousin went through a horrible experience in life and she wrote a book. It's called A Life Without Christ, and you know, she always inspired me to write the story about him because there's so many things that have to do with his story. A lot of, I guess, spiritual things that happened to me, or just everything. There's a lot that went on. So he was a miracle baby. There was a lot of spiritual things that I felt through his life, and I don't even know what I'm saying, sorry, my head's like all over the place. And anyway, yeah, so just everything. It was a medical malpractice, everything. So you guys will slowly know everything that went on. So I guess I'm gonna start off by saying his name. His name is JJ Ramos, and those initials stand for Johnny Joe. So that was his name. It's kind of a name that his grandpa has, his uncle has, and his father had. So a lot of Johnnies in this family. Okay, so anyway, so I guess I'm gonna backtrack to when I met his father. His father is Johnny Joe. He is the father of both of my children, the only two children I have. I have my 9-year-old daughter Cadence, and then JJ would have been 11, so she's about a little over a year after him. So they're a year apart. And okay, so pregnancy went on and it came on normal, kind of, but at a point I was vomiting. Sorry, TMI. I got really nauseated every single day up until my 9 months. Like literally the day that I had him, I would wake up and vomit because I was just so nauseated, and the doctor thought everything was fine. You know, I was 19 at the time, so I put all my faith in my doctor because I didn't know anything about being pregnant. He was my first baby. Oh, I don't want to get emotional. He was my first baby. I just completely put faith in him. So and I don't blame the doctor. You know, I do not blame the doctor. It was a confirmed malpractice, but I do not blame him. God does everything for a reason. I'm not gonna get emotional in this video because I did in the last one and it won't happen again. Okay, anyway, so I begin by saying that, and he was born on March 12, 2005. No, sorry, March 12, 2004 is when he was born. He passed away September 23rd, 2006, so he was about going on 3 years old. Anyway, I don't really know how to put everything in order. So the day that I had him, I didn't really know what going into labor was, what it felt like, or anything like that. I just knew it was going to be painful, so I was expecting pain. We did live kind of like on the outskirts of town, so it was kind of away from the hospital. And where I saw my doctor, there was a clinic over here, and then a couple miles, about 5 miles down, was the hospital, okay? And so, I'm sorry, no, about 2 miles, not 5. Okay, so anyway, that day I woke up, normal thing. I remember like lifting my shirt and seeing my stomach engorged, like just bursting, like wanting to pop open. And I didn't feel too different. I took a shower, I shaved my legs, 9 months pregnant. I did everything, you know, like I usually do. And then all of a sudden I started feeling really clammy and just like I just felt really bad. I felt this pain. I felt like bricks were inside my stomach, like just bricks, like a ton of bricks holding me down, and it just was pain that I can't even explain, like just pain. And I was like, I guess I'm in labor. I went and told my boyfriend's mother at the time. I was like, hey, I'm going into labor. So I called my sister. She came over. It was raining outside, I remember that. And when I walked outside in the rain, I felt so hot, and I was like, okay, the rain's gonna make me feel cooled down, and I couldn't feel the rain hit my skin. Like, I guess, long story short, we both almost died. I guess I was going through something, and we both almost died. So I get to the doctor's office because I had an appointment that day later on, and I called them and I was like, hey, I'm in pain. She's like, you're probably just in labor. Go ahead and come in and we will see you right now. So I was like, cool. The pain just started getting worse and worse, and I went into the doctor's office, and I was just in pain. I was like, I couldn't, at this point, when he called me into the office, which was right away, he was like, lay down so I can, you know, do an ultrasound, and I couldn't lay down. I felt like I was just being stabbed everywhere. It was just horrible. I'm like reliving everything again. Okay. Snap out of it. Okay. Anyway, so it was excruciating pain, and so I got to the doctor. He, like I said, he tried to get me to lay down, and I finally did somehow. And he put the ultrasound thingy on my belly, I guess, and he was like 0. He said 0, and I was like, what the hell? What does 0 mean? And he's like, get up. He's like, put your clothes on. He's like, how fast can you get to the hospital? Do you want me to take you in my car, or do I need to call 911? Or can you go in your own vehicle? And I was like, the heck am I supposed to, how am I supposed to know? Like, you tell me. So I was like, I was with my sister, so I was like, no, my sister will take me. It was down the road, a couple miles, and he's like, all right, I'll meet you there. He's like, go to the hospital, get there, go straight to the emergency room. And I was like, all right. So I went, freaked out, because at this point he didn't say nothing. He just said 0. What the hell am I supposed to do with the number 0? Okay, so I got to the hospital. The freaking emergency room was having construction or something going on, so they made me walk from the very back all the way, like seriously, it seemed like 5 miles by the time I got all the way to the other side of the hospital. Yeah, they had everything closed down, so I just went by myself in pain. You know, I thought I was gonna die. I didn't even think, I'm surprised I made it. So I get there, they make me sign all this paperwork, sit me in an office, and I'm like, I felt like I was dying, like I said. And they put me in a wheelchair, they rolled me into surgery, I guess is where I was going. I didn't even go into the emergency room. The doctor was already dressed in his scrubs and everything, and there was about 10 people in a cold room. And I mean, I always look back and I'm like, I should have gone with him. Like, he was already dressed out of a whole suit into a scrub. You know, like, why didn't he take me with him? Why didn't he say it was so urgent? You know, everything happens for a reason. This is a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so I get into the surgery room and he's like, hurry up. Oh no, the nurses, they freaked me out. They were like, hurry, rip off all your clothes, take off all your clothes. Do you have jewelry? Do you have jewelry on? Like yelling at me. They're like, get your jewelry off, hurry, you know, and just making me throw my earrings, literally like rip them off and throw them on the floor. And they made me lay on this metal bed, which wasn't even a bed, it was a surgery table. They made me lay down. It was so cold in that room. I remember just being so cold, and at the same time they were putting in the catheter, the, what is it called? To pee. That thingy, they were putting it in, shaving, like doing all the stuff that they prep for surgery when you're usually asleep. And what I had was a general C-section where they just literally put you to bed and cut you open. And I remember them just putting a mask over me, and he said, I remember seeing the mask, and then I remember seeing the life support tube on this side. Ugh, that's horrible. The life support tube, because I remember him seeing the mask go on, and I guess after they did that, he said, I'm gonna count to 3 or 10 and you're gonna fall asleep. And I was like, okay. So he put it on, and he was like 1, 2, and I just remember like passing out, just falling asleep. And when I woke up, I remember them waking me up and then pulling out the tube. Ugh, oof, felt horrible, like just pulling out the life support tube, I guess. And that's it. It happened to me in 2 seconds. They woke me up, and I remember being rolled, my bed rolled to the to the regular room. I remember being rolled. Okay, and so when I was going down the hall, asleep, like, you know, just had surgery done, I saw all my family. Well, there goes that makeup. By the way, if you wanted to see this look, I'm gonna be having it up in a couple days. Anyway, so they rolled me down the hall, and all my family was standing there crying. I mean, yeah, I knew my mother, my father, like the immediate family was gonna be at the hospital to watch the birth of my baby, but to see your grandma, grandpas, cousins, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles felt a little strange. But at that point, I was so drugged up that I kind of was like, what the heck's everybody doing here? And then I just fell back asleep. So I get into my room. This is going to be a really long story. So I get into my room, and I see that there's no baby. You know, I'm waiting, and I remember the doctor came in, and he said, we have to transfer your baby. I remember hearing the helicopter and the doctor saying, we have to transfer your baby 2 hours away to San Antonio, Texas, and we're gonna be airlifting him and blah blah blah. And I kind of was like in and out of it. So anyway, then I see like 2 astronauts, what I thought at the time, morphine, yay morphine, and a box, a clear box, which was an incubator, and my baby was in there, and he was just almost like purple and just laying there lifeless, like literally lifeless on what is it called, life support. And I mean, I felt sad, but I don't know, a million things were going through my head. There was people in my room. They brought him in, and they said, we just want you to tell him goodbye because he's leaving. And I remember reaching my hand through the hole, and I held his hand, and he shook for the first time. Like, he just shook. And I mean, I just remember, yeah, holding him, and then I fell back asleep, and he was gone. He was gone. I kept waking up here and there, but the nurses would be like, are you okay? And then they would just kind of, here's some more morphine, you know, go to bed. We don't want you to know what's going on. That's pretty much how I felt. You know, every time I'd try to wake up and talk to someone, I would ask questions. The doctor, they would just be like, okay, get some rest, sweetie, get some rest. Like, no. But anyway, then the doctor came in. This is another doctor that, he is the one that revived him in the operating room. He's the one that brought him back to life. Because what happened was they waited too long to deliver him. So he ended up ripping the umbilical cord off of him. And that is the pain that I was feeling, the blood. We were both bleeding internally. Or I was bleeding internally, and he was getting poisoned and all this stuff. So that is what I felt. He was passed away in my stomach for 30 minutes. And I mean, 30 minutes is gone. Like, how do you even come back from that? So they decided to do CPR on him. They did it 8 times, which is way over the legal limit. And they did get him back. And they brought him back, and that, now moving on to that is the doctor that came in and talked to me. He said, blah blah blah, this happened. I don't even remember what he said. And he said, I have so-and-so on the phone. they're in San Antonio, 2 hours away from you, and they want for you to say, he was handing me the phone, he's like, they want your permission to take your son off life support. And I'm like, kidding me? Like, what do you want me to do? Tell you it's okay to kill him? You know, I haven't seen him. I mean, I saw him for a second while I was on drugs, and give you the permission? No, I was like, no, I need to get out of here. I was like, I need to go to him. And he was like, sweetie, calm down, you know, this is happening. And I'm like, keep in mind, he is the doctor that brought him back to life. Why did you even try? Like, I don't understand. So I was like, no, I really need to go with him, and I need to be with him. And he's like, okay, well, so you're gonna have to sign a paper where you waive everything, you know, he's like, you cannot leave because you had a general C-section. You can get it's really bad for you. You've only been here you only had surgery hours ago, so you can't leave. And I was like, I don't care, I'm leaving. And so I signed all the paperwork, left in a wheelchair. Yeah, so that morning I told my mom, like, let's go. We all got ready. They put me in a wheelchair, and the hardest thing, I swear, was being rolled out and seeing other people being rolled out with babies in their hands. And I just had a bunch of gifts, you know, or no, not even gifts, I think some balloons. So that being said, I got to the hospital where he was. I couldn't walk, obviously, for a couple of days because I had a huge surgery. And I get there, and he's in NICU, the neonatal intensive care. And I get there, and you know, he was there for a couple months. I want to say 2 months. I don't even remember. But he was there, and at the time we lived 2 hours away. I was young. So what I would do is I stayed at the Ronald McDonald House, which is like assistance, you know, for parents or you know, kids with disabilities and all that stuff. And I couldn't stay with him. I could not stay with him, so I would have to get on a bus in a crazy town full of crazy people. And I remember just having to get on at midnight. I would go like 8 in the morning, get there, be with him the whole night until I had to leave, and then get on a bus back to that place. And I remember I washed clothes, cooked everything there. And at the time, I remember first experiencing anxiety there. You know, I would call my husband, or at the time husband, I would call him crying like, I need you. And you know, anyway, I'm not gonna mention that into this, but I really felt like I needed somebody, and I had nobody right next to me at that hospital. So I remember just feeling like, I remember just sitting there and feeling like these clouds, like dark clouds, just come over me. I don't know, I'm guessing that's anxiety. I didn't know what it was. And I just felt like this darkness around me all the time, and I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole different story. But yeah, so I stayed there. They are amazing, an amazing, what is it, whatever, I forgot what it's called, I'm sorry, a charity. And I mean, I definitely appreciate it so much. But anyway, yeah, so I did that, and hopefully this video is not too long. So I did that, and I would go visit him, and I remember the doctor going in and sitting there and sitting all my family down, like my mom, my boyfriend, my sister, and then all these doctors would sit around and talk to us and think of a plan. And the doctor told me at one meeting, all I remember him saying is, we would like to take your son to the butterfly room. And I'm like, what the hell is the butterfly room? He said, it's where we take the kids, we don't feed them, we don't administer medication, we don't do anything, we just let them pass on their own. No girl. I was like, no. I was young, but thank God I had, I don't know, I guess it was just motherly instinct. He's like, at this point, all his organs are failing, his kidneys, everything's off track. He has sepsis, he has this, that, hypertension, you know, everything that you could think of, and it doesn't seem like he's gonna bounce back. And he was having seizures like uncontrollably, and it was just insane. So he had a feeding tube put in, he had all that happen to him, and he just said there's really no hope. So we waited, you know, he went ahead and just said, okay, we'll meet again in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about it from there. And I remember just praying. I've always I've never gone to church before. Like now I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian, but in my heart I was a Christian. Like in my heart I always spoke to God. He always answered me. Even as a little kid, I remember just talking to God, maybe not even knowing who I was talking to, but and feeling comforted by Him. So like I said, I just started praying to myself, and you know, everybody's prayers in my family helped a lot. And sure and behold, another meeting with the doctor, he finally was like, well, surprisingly everything's coming back fine, you know, everything's starting to work on him, his levels are all coming back to normal, and so now we have to help him. And I'm like, okay, so help him. And so they had to treat him, and they started treating him on everything. It was like the 7th day, I remember, that he came back around, like all his numbers leveled out. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And like, yeah, so he started coming around. Of course he was gonna have all these problems, and they said that he couldn't see, he was blind, he was deaf, he was gonna be a vegetable. And I mean, he pretty much ended up with cerebral palsy. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Let me know if you want a video on that. He was brain damaged, so he had a lot of fluid in the brain, and so basically you're trapped inside a body that you have no control over. Like he would look to grab something, and his brain would go somewhere else, and his hand would go the other way instead of where he needed it to go. So that's pretty much what cerebral palsy is. They said he wouldn't cry, he wouldn't do anything, and while I would visit him every day, you know, nurses would give me some bad news. Some nurses were amazing, which is where I got my love for being an RN from, just the amazing nurses that treated him. And some were pretty nasty and said, you know, say your goodbyes and he's not gonna make it another day. And I just kept that faith. I was like, he's gonna make it, he's just gonna make it. So he wasn't supposed to live that first 24 hours. They were just, you know, we pretty much had the pastor come in, everything. He was going that day, you know, and he ended up being there 2 or 3 months, I believe. I started being able to feed him. He did have surgery to get a feeding tube placed in his belly. He had that all his life. He never was able to eat by mouth, but that is something, again, like that's kind of why from my anxiety story, I did say, you know, anxiety happened not just when he passed away. He was a disabled baby. I was a full-time 24-hour nurse to him. He had a feeding tube in his stomach. He had appointments up the woohoo. He had so many problems, and he had so much pain, and it was just a painful life for him. So I know he's okay right now. I know he's not in pain. So yeah, I know he's not living a painful life right now. And I'm like gonna be all over the place with this. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna go in order. But I met a mother there, and at the same time we would both meet there. And I wish I would keep in touch with her, but I didn't. And I met her, and her baby was in there, and her baby passed away. And oh, it killed me. Her baby passed away of some type of kidney issue or stomach issue. It killed me. Like, I remember seeing her baby, and she was so excited that, you know, this baby was gonna live, because all her other babies had the same problem and they would just pass away. And oh, she had so much faith this time, and God, it killed me. I was only 19, guys. I was only 19 years old, so it put a lot of trauma on me. So I guess I'm gonna end there because there's so much to say in the story. I will just end it there because after seeing him every day for 3 months, he starts getting better and better and starts getting, you know, more in control, and so he's getting ready for discharge. So I will leave it at that point. So hopefully you guys enjoy my story, and I will definitely do a part 2 pretty soon, or story number 2. So yeah, I will hopefully you guys enjoyed this part. If you have any questions, leave them below and I will answer them in my next video. And I will see you guys later. Bye.